My supernatural story. My story starts in a church. There was a service, a special service. A pastor from America came to preach here in South Africa, and one thing he was preaching about in particular was being able to see people who are going to die. You're right, he doesn't see dead people, but he can see people who are going to die. And how he would see this is a dark cloud that only he could see linger over people's heads. Skip a few days later, and I'm driving with a friend of mine and his girlfriend to Weststrand, an area in Johannesburg about roughly 30 kilometers from our Kasi neighborhood. So this is where things get really creepy. My friend Ryan starts laughing and tells me about this really weird incident the two of them had the day prior. So he explains it in a joke. Ryan, we like driving 30 kilometers out of Ennerdale to Western. We are in Western for a while, and the two of us even had something to eat. And only on the way back, Amy turns around towards the back seat while we drive home and asks, as if speaking to people, "Why are they so quiet?" But yet it was just the two of them the whole time. Now that's creepy. Anyway, she intervenes and defends herself by saying, "Honestly, there were two people sitting behind us the whole time. I can even describe what they had on." And then she explains, the lady had one of those big hats like the New Apostolic Church, and the man was also in church clothing, and she was dead serious. The hair on my neck instantly started rising, and she also added that the only time she realized there was nobody else but them two in the car is when he asked who she was talking to. Suddenly, the two ghostly figures who had been sitting in the back seat the whole time vanished, sending chills down her spine. Later in the evening, it gets even creepier, like a whole new level of creepiness. Fast forward, we got a few drinks and drove around for a short while, and then decided to go back to Ryan's house to watch some movies since I lived right opposite. It would be convenient, and it was a Sunday night after all. Anyway, the movie plays, it's a comedy, and we all watch, but then I fell asleep and start dreaming of that black cloud that the pastor spoke about. It was hovering over all of us, but at this time, I'm actually staring at all of us, including myself. I can also distinctively see and hear Ryan saying, "Let's take a video," while laughing at me. But I have some kind of sleep paralysis mixed into some heavy, half-awake dream. It's like I'm trying to wake up, but I also can't. And all the time, this dark cloud is consuming the small space we're in more and more. And all this time, I can also still see this from above. I know that sounds crazy, but that's what it was like. No shit. I heard Amy saying, "No, leave him. Don't wake him, Ryan." Then I don't know if you can call it waking up or snapping out of it. But wait, before I forget, you know how sleep paralysis works. I was actually trying to tell them to wake me up by making weird, ha-hoo sounds at that time. And I knew I was making funny sounds because I could hear myself making the sounds, and they could too. It's always the same. But nothing comes out. It's like you're paralyzed from the neck up and down. You could literally be coiling, but you can't even wipe your mouth or even close your lips to prevent spit from leaking out the side. So anyway, getting back to when I woke up. Before they could tell me what I was doing in my sleep, I even told them that I was moaning and mentioned that I was telling them to help, because I wanted them to wake me up. If you can remember properly, there was also still this dark cloud consuming us. They both looked at me in shock, and I was feeling like I had superpowers. But to try and make what could be a long story shorter, if you thought things couldn't get worse, fast forward a week later, we were driving together, myself and Ryan, drinking as usual. Then the phone rings, and guess who it is? Yep, it's Amy, Ryan's girlfriend. She was calling to ask where is he, and that they're waiting for him at Flamingo's, a nightclub in our town, and wanted to know when we're coming. He replied, "We will be there soon." But the moment she ends the call, he's like, "Mpsim, we're not going there. I don't feel for a crowd of people today." And at this point, I'm thinking, but I kind of feel for a crowd of people, and try to convince him to go there, but with no success because at this point, he is already drunk and difficult to convince. A few moments later, she was calling again, and he told her once again that we will be there soon, knowing that we won't. He even refrains from answering her calls. It was sometime at this point where, well, she was probably trying to call that she never saw that oncoming speeding car that was trying to get away from the police heading straight towards her. And as you can guess, this would be the last time she called, because the car would then knock her down and drag her a further 15 to 20 feet away from where she was standing, now laying in a pool of blood, in a horrible scene one would not wish on their worst enemy. And so, in conclusion, the day Amy saw those two people wearing their church clothing, they were actually there to tell her they'll be fetching her soon. So this gives confirmation to the dark cloud, I guess? Crazy, hey? And that's my supernatural story.